These old Mercedes diesels can be very reliable. For those of you who have driven these, you know what I'm talking about. But I do feel they have two Achilles heels that can leave you stranded. And it's happened to me, and I think it's probably happened to anyone else who's driven these for any length of time. And the first one is glow plugs. If those glow plugs fail, more than likely the engine is not going to start and you're going to be stranded. And number two are fuel filters. And you know what it's like going down the road and all of a sudden you feel that gradual loss of power, and almost invariably that turns out to be a plugged fuel filter. So when you're talking about preventative maintenance on these old Mercedes diesels, the 116s, 123s, 126, 124 and so on, these are two things you want to think about, particularly when winter approaches. Now, it's 2 days before Halloween, and I use Halloween as a marker. That's right, a marker every year to pay a little extra attention to my fleet of Mercedes diesels. Now, my 300 SD here is running okay, but I'm going to take a close look at the glow plugs. I'm going to do some testing, check the health of the glow plug relay system and the glow plugs themselves, and I'm also going to take a quick look at my fuel filters. And if my fuel filter, I'm going to check my maintenance records, if it's not been changed in the last year, regardless of mileage, I'm going to go ahead and change the filter. They're not expensive, and if you've ever been stranded out on the road without a filter, you know what a big hassle that can be for, what, $8 for an inexpensive fuel filter. But you might be interested to note that I made one modification here to my 300 SD that kind of eliminates some of the problems you might have, particularly if you drive long distances away from home. A lot of freeway mileage, you pick up some bad fuel or something and you get that plugged fuel filter out on the open road. It can be frustrating. So what I did is I made a modification that allowed me to quickly do a couple hose clamps and plug something in, and I'm on the road again. Let me show you what I did here. This is the factory filter located right here. It's similar to a spin-on filter. You don't really spin it on. You remove this large center bolt and then lift the filter out from the bottom. Now I want you to move up to here, and you notice I have installed an extra Standardine fuel filter here. This is in series, so the fuel comes up from the tank, it comes through this pre-filter here, goes through this what I call preliminary filter, and then it routes down to the lift pump at the injection pump, and then the fuel then goes through the factory filter. And you're probably wondering, well, why did you do this? Do you really need two filters? No, you don't really need two filters, but let me explain. If I'm on the open road and I pick up some bad fuel, or something happens where the fuel starts to plug a filter, it's going to plug this filter first before it plugs the factory filter. And if you're out on the open road, sure, you can be carrying another filter with you, but it's kind of a hassle and it's really messy to change it. So if I'm experiencing any kind of power loss in my 300 SD, watch what all I need to do. I have a screwdriver in the trunk. I just loosen the clamp on the pre-filter here, and then I loosen the clamp on the outlet of the primary filter, and then I pull the hose off like this. I take the pre-filter, plug it in here, and then I tighten the clamp down like that. Then I'll go ahead and use the hand pump and pump up pressure, and I'm on the road again. So that's why I have chosen to install this particular filter on my car here. Loss of fluid can also cause some real serious problems in these old diesels, in fact in any car. So part of my preparation for winter driving inspection, I'm going to really look at everything related to fluids. That's coolant. I'll inspect the water pump and all the hoses, all the, check the flexibility of your rubber hoses, your clamps, and then moving on to the fuel system, one of the key things that can fail, and it seems like a lot of this stuff happens during winter when temperatures are cold and things get brittle, and that's a real close inspection of these injector return hoses. I've seen these crack and start leaking, and I know people have dumped, you know, gallons and gallons of fuel driving down the road without even realizing it until they look at their fuel gauge and say, wow, I'm really getting some bad fuel economy here. So this is a time to check once a year, good inspection of those injector return hoses, check for softness. If they're starting to feel kind of hard or brittle, just replace them. Once again, that's very inexpensive and easy to do, so you don't want to be skimpy on these particular hoses. And, you know, take a good look at the fuel filter housing, look at the banjo fittings, and you want to check for any kind of wetness in this area. It's first signs of leaks. And I'm looking at one of my hard lines coming into the top of my filter, and it doesn't look too good. And I think I'm going to plan to replace that. It's showing signs of kind of cracking around the top nipple here. And you want to check, you know, for any kind of leaks in your brake system. You can check for wetness around the calipers and your hoses. And I check my maintenance records. This is the time of the year that I will do a brake fluid flush if I have not done it within the last 2 years. So every 2 years, a good brake fluid flush. And of course, the coolant should be changed at least every 5 years, maybe more often, depending upon the condition of your engine and how much mileage you put on your car. And then, of course, we'll look at the transmission, get under the car, check for transmission leaks. Remember, loss of fluid is the #1 cause of catastrophic engine failure in these old diesels. So you want to be particularly cautious about coolant and engine oil. So I'm going to look at these oil cooler hoses real close, make sure there's no leaks in and around my oil cooler or any of the oil cooler fittings as well. So I'm going to complete this pre-winter inspection, and in a future video I want to show you how I do a quick check on the glow plug system. A lot of people ask, well, how can I just quickly check whether or not my glow plugs are working properly? And then we're going to go ahead and shoot a video on changing this hard line here, and I want to explain a little bit more about how you deal with the banjo fittings and those aluminum banjo washers. So just check out my future videos for those tips as well.